Hello, my name is Alan Schlesinger. I'm the historian for the Society for Pediatric Radiology. Last year, Marilyn Goski, the current president of the SPR, asked me to put this short video together. It was her vision to document what the SPR means to members of the Society for Pediatric Radiology and what they enjoy about being a pediatric radiologist. So Dr. Goski arranged, with Jennifer Boylan's help, to have as many members of the SPR as possible be interviewed at the SPR reception at the 2006 RSNA annual meeting. And these interviews make up the bulk of this video. Before we get to the videos, I'd like to review a little bit about the Society for Pediatric Radiology. The first meeting took place in Washington, D.C. in 1958, and it was arranged by Dr. Harold Peterson, who sent a letter inquiring if there was an interest in a, quote, jam session for pediatric radiologists to be held prior to the annual meeting of the American Roentgen-Ray Society. The agenda for that day-long meeting was open-ended, but the purpose of the meeting was clear. It was to share ideas, share interesting material, and to advance the knowledge in this new field of pediatric radiology. A total of 38 radiologists attended the meeting, and a new society was born.
The first meeting of the SPR was at the Shoreham Hotel in Washington, D.C. In 1958. This was in response to a letter, invitational letter actually, from Harold Peterson to have a few radiologists, pediatric radiologists, meet and, as Dr. Schlesinger has mentioned, have a jam session. Well, I think all three of us showed up. It was a big turnout because there were only about 35 or 40 PD radiologists practicing full-time in that era. We met at the Shoreham, and the program consisted of bringing them to each other with open discussion on all cases. We had a great time, as I recall, and everyone seemed to enjoy it, including, I guess, those who had come to see what this new breed of PD radiologist was like and what PD radiology was all about, because, as I mentioned, it was an instruction course initially. So the success was difficult cases, and showing it evident because we were invited back the next year after that. So it made for a very cordial relationship between the American Roentgen-Ray Society and several years. So that's how it all began, the Society of Pediatric Radiology.
The SPR and the field of pediatric radiology have grown dramatically since that initial meeting in 1958. As we now gather for our 50th anniversary meeting, our membership has grown from 38 to over 1,300. The charter members became pediatric radiologists because they gravitated to that field because of their interest in children's imaging, but they didn't have any special training. We now have over 45 accredited fellowship programs, and we also have our own subspecialty certification. We've come a long way since that initial meeting in 1958 and have had 49 SPR presidents since that time. In many ways, we're a very diverse group. The Society is comprised of radiologists from dedicated children's hospitals, as well as university-based and community hospital-based radiology practices. We have members from the United States, Canada, Europe, and beyond. But in listening to the videotaped interviews obtained at the RSNA meeting, it is clear that we share one common passion: participating in the care of children. Although members' stories were different and their path to pediatric radiology varied, three common themes emerged from observing the videotaped interviews. First, dynamic and nurturing mentors were an inspiration to pursue a career in pediatric radiology. Second, members enjoyed the collegial atmosphere of the SPR, and they enjoyed the meeting because it's an exciting forum in which to advance knowledge in the field of pediatric imaging. And finally, pediatric radiologists love working with children, and they like being part of a team that can provide the best possible health care for children. The impact of an inspirational mentor in the final decision to enter a career in pediatric radiology was repeated again and again by the SPR members in their interviews.
My name is Brian Coley. I trained at Cincinnati Children's Hospital and I finished in 1995. The person who probably influenced me to go into pediatric radiology was Paula Schultz. She was a visiting when I was a first-year resident. It was unusual for first-year residents to do pediatrics, but in my last month I got to work with Paula, and her enthusiasm for pediatrics, she spent a lot of time with me. Teaching pediatric radiology was absolutely infectious. She's taking extra time after hours to show teaching cases, and she was really the kind of person who you wanted to do what she did and to be as happy doing it as she clearly was. So that was really the reason I started gravitating toward pediatric radiology.
My major impact in my life, probably Scott Dunbar. His name is Andy Kuznansky. People who had, this was during my medical school years when I was in Montreal, and I rotated to Children's Hospital in Montreal, where Scott had just come out of pediatric radiology in Boston, and as a fellow became chairman of the Department of Radiology there. And he was such an enthusiastic and interesting individual that from that moment I really decided I wanted to go into pediatric radiology.
My name is Ellen Benya. I did my fellowship training in Washington, D.C. I trained there. The two SPR members that were very influencing my decision to go into pediatric radiology, were Sandra Fernbach and Dorothy Bulis.
I met very interesting people, and I was influenced to go into pediatric radiology by two great pediatric radiologists, Jack O'Haller and E. George Kasner, who worked at SUNY downstate.
From 1990 to 1992.
All back to when I was a second year out, and first I was given great mentorship as a resident by Charles Gooding and Rob Rash, who were the faculty at that time. But I also had the opportunity to acquaint myself with one of the lasers who used to come on a regular basis as a visiting professor and show his cases there. And Norm kept nudging me to think about charter members of the society. Norm, pediatric radiology as a career, and I needed to formulate an opinion on professional directions. I joined him at the SPR meeting in 1978, and he was a very gracious host. He introduced me to many of the legends in pediatric radiology. I remember meeting Walter Burden and Thorne Griscom and David Baker and Dr. John Kirkpatrick and others. And I was struck by a few things. One is the society was extremely welcoming. They were a very tight bond group of people. I was also struck by their unified commitment to taking care of children and improving the health of children. It became very clear to me in talking to people like John Kirkpatrick and looking at the twinkle in his eye and his enthusiasm that he was extremely happy with his profession. And by the end of the meeting, there was no doubt in my mind that pediatric radiology was for me.
The second point that these interviews stressed was the importance of the SPR in the professional growth of its members. The meetings provide the educational milieu that Dr. Peterson envisioned in his invitation to the first meeting of the Society for the SPR, which he suggested should be a, quote, jam session for pediatric radiologists, during which time a free exchange of ideas could take place, an instructional course in which everyone attending could be both instructed. Members enjoyed the educational opportunities that the SPR provides. The ability to gather and learn together, to present results of interesting basic science and clinical research, and to share their enthusiasm for providing the best possible health care for children. In addition, they enjoyed the social aspects of the SPR, the clear at the annual meeting, and to see old friends and colleagues and make new friendships as well.
The SPR is and always has been for me a wonderful forum to meet people, to discuss things with people. From the first time I went there as a resident and fellow, I was made to feel part of a wonderful, friendly, warm group, and that sense of belonging is part of what has made pediatric radiology so much fun for me.
The SPR has been a great opportunity to see people doing things a little differently than me, trying to problem solve, share experiences, share successes and frustrations in our job. And we come together in the atmosphere that I don't see in other society meetings that I attend. And I see children at these meetings. I love it. And they're in a very open and...
Some members have taken the collegiality to the next level. During the 1994 annual meeting, one of the members, Damian Grattan Smith, and his wife Ashley were married in an impromptu wedding. Inez Bouchette and her husband, Vicente Gilsanz, both pediatric radiologists, met through the field of pediatric radiology, and the SPR served as their matchmaker.
My name is Inez Bouchette. I'm a pediatric radiologist and chief of pediatric radiology at UCLA in Los Angeles. I'm originally from Brazil, and I did my training in pediatric radiology at Children's Hospital Medical Center under the guidance of Dr. John Kirkpatrick. There I met my now husband, Vicente Gilsanz. At that time, he was going to go back to Spain, I was going back to Brazil. There was not much future in the relationship. But we met again at the Society of Pediatric Radiology meeting 3 years later in San Francisco. And a few months later, we got married. So I definitely owe to the SPR a very unusual matching program.
Was that pediatric radiologists enjoy their jobs because of the rewards they receive from the care team providing the best possible care for children.
Hi, I'm Ira Wolke, and I'm a pediatric radiologist. I did my fellowship at Children's Memorial Hospital in Chicago. And I guess the big question is why does somebody go into pediatric radiology, or why should they? And it's been said that the way society is judged is how it takes care of its weakest, its poorest, and those people who can't speak for themselves. And those people obviously include children to a large extent. Also, if you've ever been sick as a child, you know how scary it is, and you know how difficult it's something that you get a tremendous return from. I think a lot of people feel that it's tough because the kids are sick and the parents are upset, but
working with children and from being part of a health.
Most of the time, even though they are, you can see how resilient children are, and you can see how much the parents appreciate the help that you're giving them, and you're trying to help them figure out what their problem is. It is for your parents. And
so, my name is Cynthia Kristoff. I'm a pediatric radiologist. I chose pediatric radiology because you get to do everything and you get to be with patients. I used to be an internist, and when I decided to go back and become a radiologist, I wanted a chance to still have patient contact.
I think that for me, one of the best parts about being a pediatric radiologist to deal with, I know that I can always make a difference, and this is something that you should think about in planning your career.
I believe that the following two video clips best summarize the rewards of pediatric radiology and the importance of the Society for Pediatric Radiology in the professional life of its members.
I've loved the pediatric radiologists that I've known and trained with. And now the fellows are teaching me interesting things about what they know and their new imaging. It's been a great career. I think the opportunity to serve first the patient, the parent, and the hospital.
In terms of what does it mean to be a pediatric radiologist, I think it's the nicest
is that for the patients and the families,
best profession in the world.
I hope you've enjoyed this historic review of our society. It's been of great interest to me, and it's brought back many nostalgic memories. Great years in the company of fine, close friends. The closest friends I'll ever have been made in the Society of Pediatric Radiology. As a charter member of the group, I look forward with a great deal of enthusiasm to the 100th anniversary, which, ladies and gentlemen, is only a few short 50 years away. See you then. Thank you.